welcome back to Wounded on Sixes. Today we're going to be taking a look at round 4 of my Warhammer 40k Summer League taking place in my local game shop. This week we have the Adeptus Custodes going up against my Tau Empire. After 3 weeks I'm sitting at 2-1 and currently in the league was in second place going into this game. We are playing against the number 1 player in his Adeptus Custodes, and this is going to be a really difficult matchup. But before we get into the matchup, I want to go over the list real quick. So, as you know, I've been running my Mon Ka detachment, and while the first 3 weeks I didn't make any changes because I kind of knew I was going to be going up against the Adeptus Custodes this week, I made a couple of changes. So, one of the biggest changes is I dropped one of the broadsides for Commander Shadowsun. Reason being, she's another lone op, also pretty decent at doing some like army support with her reroll ability. Also has a CP regeneration strategy as well, so she's a good all-around unit. Difficult to take down, particularly in shooting with that lone op, stealth, -1 to hit, -1 to wound. She can be very difficult to take down, and she's really good at being a spotting target because she hits on 2s, so she really doesn't mind spotting for another unit, especially in Mon Ka, to give them lethals in the first 3 rounds. Other than that, I still had all 3 of my commander units, 2 enforcers and a cold star, 3 units of stealth battlesuits, and a unit of Vespid stingwings for scoring. Down to 2 broadsides here. We also went up an extra fire knife squad, so I brought in a second fire knife with plasma, and to make room for that I ended up dropping the Skyray, and the reason being the Custodies list, which we're going to take a look at in a minute, didn't really have any vehicles, and while it did have some flyers, I kind of felt like my points would be better spent on like a fire knife squad with one of those commanders, and then moving the Star Scythe into a solo unit without a commander, kind of use them as just some fire support, maybe a good deep strike target to take a objective or protect an objective. So those were the changes. Like I said, the Skyray just didn't feel right. I really liked having Commander Shadowsun, so I felt like I was well equipped for the Custodies army that I was about to face. So let's go ahead and take a look at that Custodies army now. Taking a look now at the Adeptus Custodes, this detachment is going to be the Lions of the Emperor, which is a really decent detachment role. Each time an Adeptus Custodes unit from the army, excluding vehicles, which he has none, makes an attack, not just in melee, but shooting as well. If there are no other friendly units within 6 of that unit, add 1 to the hit and wound roll. This is a really, really powerful detachment because it's very easy to keep these multiple small units away from each other so that they're constantly getting that buff. There's going to be 2 Blade Champions here. One is going to have the Superior Creation. They're going to be in, each are going to be assigned to one of these 3 Custodian Guard units. And then there's also a Shield Captain in Alaris. Terminator armor is, of course, going to be down here with one of the Alaris Terminators. There's 3 of them there. And then finishing the list off, he has 3 units of Venatari Custodians and 1 unit of Witch Seekers. So if you take a look at this list, what you're going to notice is that there's no vehicles whatsoever. It is all infantry, so everything here is going to be able to benefit from Lions of the Emperor detachment there. Plus, once they get into melee, they could choose either sustain or lethals. Really, they just get to choose. That's their army rule. And everything here deep strikes. Literally, everything in this army. I think maybe the Witch Seekers don't. Let's take a look. Yeah, I think the Witch Seekers are literally the only thing in his army that does not deep strike. So that was definitely something that I had to keep in mind when I was going up against them. I thought that my army deep struck a lot. No, this army deep strikes an incredible amount. These Custodian Guard units are ridiculously tough, and they also get to shoot twice. So, and as we'll get into the game, you'll see these units were very effective at laying down fire against my stuff, even though I'm not really too susceptible to Custodies shooting. I was actually kind of really impressed with that double shooting from the Custodian Guard. The Alaris Custodians, just absolutely really difficult to deal with. And the Venatari, they get free rapid ingress. In fact, you can rapid ingress all 3 of them for free when you want. Very, very powerful abilities, and everything here, besides the Witch Seekers, has a 4-up invulnerable save. So 2-up, 4-up, the entire army. Extremely difficult to take down, but I felt somewhat confident because I have so many multi-damage weapons. I just had to make sure that I was hitting against that invul and not giving them easy 3-up saves. So this is the list that I went up against. Let's go ahead and take a look at the map and the deployments as well as the mission role that we'll be playing. Moving along to the map and the mission, we are going to be playing on sweeping engagement deployment zones on GW Layout 5. So that's going to be setting up on the long board table edges, also known as the Dawn of War deployment. For the primary mission, we're playing an asymmetrical war mission called Establish Control. It is essentially Linchpin, where you need to control your home objective to score more points for the objectives you control in No Man's Land. The biggest difference here is that the attacker has to deploy first and go first. That's really it. Everything else, it kind of just scores like Linchpin. The twist was high octane. So all units, instead of making advance rolls, just auto-advance 6. Which is good for both armies here because, again, I got Monka, so for the first 3 turns, I'm advancing and moving a maximum of 6. Most of my units were moving 16. My Piranhas on turn 1, if they got the scout move, could go 29 inches, I think, something like that. Most things moved about 14 to 16 inches. The broadsides could move 11. So really, really fast movement here for the Tau in the first couple of turns. But all of the Custodies guns also have assault. And the 2 guard units with blade champions also can advance and charge once per game. So this mission really, this twist anyway, worked out really well for both opponents. Because that I was deploying on such a a short table edge where you're playing on the long edge and you have a short distance between your deployment zone and your opponents, I wanted to kind of turtle up on my home objective to make sure that whatever objectives I controlled in No Man's Land, I was scoring the max amount of points for. And I wanted to make sure that if I won the roll-off, my opponent was the attacker. Reason being, 1, I get to go second, and in Monka, going second is always better. But also, because he gets those free rapid ingress on the Vinatari, I wanted to make sure that those Vinatari weren't coming down at the end of my movement in the top of turn 2, where I would have to deal with them turn 2. Since he was going first, he couldn't drop his Vinatari for free for rapid ingress until the end of my movement phase on round 2, which meant I didn't have to deal with those Vinatari till round 3. So when I won the roll-off, I chose to be the defender, have him deploy first, and then set me up for a better game that way. So let's go ahead and take a look at those deployments. So looking at deployments here, we have the Ghost Keel that's set up on this edge here, infiltrating this position, looking to take this as our natural expansion, seeing how our opponent basically only set up in this quadrant over here. We have the other Ghost Keel here to do the Build a Night Workshop. We have our Stealth Suits, Shadow Sun, and a Broadside unit. Back here, wrapped around the corner, we have our unit of Vespid. Another Broadside. This Piranha started up over here, scouted to over here. Stealth Suits, Fire Knives that I like to start on the board. Another Piranha, which basically kind of just sat there. Stealth Suits and the Riptide hanging out on this flank here. We had 3 units of Crisis Suits in Deep Strike. Our opponent put a unit of Witch Seekers, which scouted up to here and then ended up kind of fanning out here to try to block us from moving into this area. A unit of Custodian Guard are going to take up residence in this building here. There's another unit of Custodian Guard in here. Another unit of Custodian Guard in here, and a unit of Alaris Terminators back here. So he has all his Venatari and 2 Alaris Terminators in Deep Strike. So, like I said in the beginning of turn 1, he's going to fan out here to try to move block us from getting back here. What we want to do is be very aggressive to try to get as much of the Monka shooting onto him as we can. He ends up with those Custodian Guard that he moves into here, keeps them in the cover. On our turn 1, we basically just come out, kill these guys here. He has these a unit of Custodian Guard come out to here, we get a couple of pot shots with our broadsides and kill one or two of them out of the unit over on this side of the board. We end up killing the Witch Seekers and then putting both of our Piranhas here in the middle of the board, as well as a Ghost Keel over here, to try to tempt them to kill the Piranhas so that we can pinpoint counteroffensive them. Hopefully he puts stuff out in the middle of the open so that in turn 2 we can go ahead and blast away. My opponent in his turn 2 essentially just moved these guys over to here to try to take this objective, but there was only one or two of them left. He moved the Custodian Guard out here, killed one of my Piranhas with them, and then killed another Piranha over here with one of his units. We ended up pinpoint counteroffensiving this unit and killing it the next turn. So this is the deployment. I'm going to show you another slide that I took that it is at the end of my round 2 going into the top of round 3. Let's go take a look at that now. So now we're going to be taking a look at the end of round 2 going into the beginning of round 3. So like we left off before, the Custodian Guards that came out of this building and helped wipe out some of the Piranhas ended up charging down here to the Riptide and put a bunch of wounds into it, and also ended up shooting one of our stealth suits, which ended up backing up. As you can see, there's one missing over here. The Riptide was then down to 4 wounds. He ended up falling back after he passed his battle shock and then landed on this objective here. The stealth suits followed him over there. These fire knives came around the building where ended up almost killing the entire unit of Custodian Guard here. The fire knives, plasma ones, dropped here in a rapid ingress at the end of his movement, turn 2. Ran up to here and then shot and killed the unit that was pinpoint counteroffensive. I think them and the Ghost Keel helped to kill that off. These 2 broadsides ran up, and I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure they did put some shots into this Custodian Guard unit too, or maybe shot the unit over here. The Sunforge came down. There was an injured unit of guard, a Custodian Guard over here. Between the Sunforge and the Riptide, we ended up killing them off quite nicely. As you can see, he rapid ingressed all his Venatari. One's going to drop over here and move through my back lines over here, killing these stealth suits and also killing these Vespid over here. The other unit of Venatari dropped over here and attacked this Ghost Keel. They were not able to kill it. They got it down to 6 wounds because I popped 2 of his drones, and then proceeded to kill off that unit eventually with this Ghost Keel. He had a unit of Custodian Guard pull through here, kill these fire knives, and then tag this Ghost Keel, which ended up falling back. The Alaris Terminators, they kind of got caught out in the open over here and got shot a couple times and then moved into the building over here. They got shot a couple of times, I believe, with Shadow Sun's Melta guns. Took out 1 or 2 of them, which was really nice. And then he had another unit of Venatari drop over here, and it pushed out and attacked this unit. He also had one of his split up. He could split up, actually, his Alaris Terminators into single units. He had one, as you can see, there's one dropped here. One dropped over here. We ended up killing that unit on a cheeky Overwatch with the fire knives here. But, after turn 2, turn 3, the match really got really grindy. He ended up taking me off this objective here. I also failed a battle shock here. Probably should have insane bravery, but I didn't. Big mistake on my part. Another mistake I made is I should have had these Vespid pushed out more over here, so they were covering, not giving up this 9 inches here, as he found like a really tight spot to drop all these guys in here. Probably should have made it so he had to drop them over here more and wasn't pressuring my home objective. I ended up dropping my star sights here in my turn 3 just to kind of put bodies on here and defend. They ended up doing like a tank shock into the Venatari and did 5 mortal wounds, which is really nice. But the problem is that once his army got in melee with my army, unless it was against like the Riptide or the Ghost Kill. He was pretty much just picking up everything that he touched. We lost our home objective one turn, so we didn't score a lot of primary that one turn, but then brought a lot of primary back. This is a very, very close game, and we're going to go look at the score right now. Yeah, let's go take a look at the score right now so I can go over a couple more things that took place. Looking up at the scoreboard, this was a very, very close game, but we ended up losing 65 to 69. As you'll see, we definitely had the lead early in the game. We were scoring a lot of our secondary points, area denial, engage in all fronts, sabotage, and we even got our marked for death. So like we were doing really well, whereas you could see our opponent was not really scoring secondaries very much, and we were winning on the primary for at least the first two turns. So after the first two turns, I felt very good. The issue is the challenger cards that came up in round 3 and round 4 ended up being the difference in the game. So the 6 points that he scored from those challenger cards ended up being the difference between a very, very close victory and a very, very close defeat. I'm not going to complain too much about challenger cards, although I am starting to formulate a not so favorable opinion about them. But again, this is a very, very close game, a very well played game. I made a couple of mistakes here and there. I should have insaned bravery that Riptide. That would have been the difference. This would have been a tie had I done that. Or a victory, because that would have been an extra 5 points, so it would have been 70 to 69. Again, I can't complain too much about the challenger cards when I had opportunities to make that victory happen. But all in all, it was a great game. Very, very tough opponent. Bill is a very, very good player. Always has a very high win rate. And this was my first time playing him, and only my second time playing Custodies. So, you know, definitely I learned a lot from the game. I feel really good about the way I played and how I've played for all 4 rounds. So I dropped to 2-2 now. So chances of a first, second, or third place are probably out of reach at this point. A win next week will probably solidify me for 4th place in the league as we move into the last round. You know, I can't complain too much. I've played very, very well. I have a very, very high score in the tournament, and I'm hoping to close it out with a victory next week. So let me know what you think about this battle. Let me know what you think about all the videos on the channel. And if you haven't, go ahead and like and subscribe, because we got a lot more coming out. A lot more tier list, a lot more battle recaps, and we may even be coming out with a weekly podcast series here as well. So thanks again for tuning in to Wounded on Sixes.